Hi and welcome to LPod Academy. This is your Taunton driving test route. So we are thanking you for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel. We really do need and want your support. We do have a new podcast show called Swan and Soto Show. You can go over to iTunes and tap that into the search bar. That podcast show is full of useful hints and tips within the industry, driving test tips, and it's just two driving instructors waffling on about their experiences. Lots of interviews with learner drivers and professional people in different categories within the driving sector. You can sign up to our email using driving test tips at lpodacademy.co.uk. We also have a theory training course. We're really proud of it, so head over to lpodtheorytraining.co.uk. Please like and share this video. Okay, let's get going. Taunton driving test route. Okay, so a bit of information about Taunton driving test centre. It has quite a good pass rate in consideration. It has a 54.4% pass rate. That is obviously last year's data, so we're still waiting for this year's data. Slightly above national average, which is approximately 47%. It's to the edge of the town, not far from the town centre. Taunton does have a theory test centre in Victoria Street. Taunton itself, a lot of the test routes are based in and around where the test centre is, of course. They do have a mixture of dual carriageways, country lanes, villages, and obviously Taunton does have quite a lot of roundabouts to get to know, especially near the test centre, so driving test tip there. Typically, driving test centre waiting times are about 8 weeks at Taunton. So when you go for your test, these are a few things that you do need to be aware of. Please make sure you have a photo driving licence with you. If you do not have it, you will not be able to use your passport or any other form of identification. You should also turn up for your test in a car that is roadworthy, whether that's your instructor's car or a private, like a family member's car. The driving examiners will be checking the tyres and the lights, including brake lights and windscreen wipers, are all working. If any element fails to work during the drive, your test will be stopped and cancelled. When you come for your driving test, you should arrive no more than 5 minutes before your test. Some test centres allow 10 minutes. The reason for this is because obviously they work to a very tight schedule. So a lot of the previous test candidates are coming back from the test centre, so they can't have too many cars in the car park. You should always reverse park your car into one of the bays so that you're ready to go out of the test centre straight away. You need to decide nice and early whether you want your accompanying driver with you. This could be a driver, instructor, a friend or family member. But you've got to be aware of the negative implications of this. Obviously extra weight in the back, more pressure, more eyeballs on you, etc. So how will you deal with your nerves? If you are taking a test in your own car, you need to make sure you are insured on your vehicle. And what I mean by this is that you are named on an insurance certificate somewhere. Now, some learner car insurances do have the learner insurance on their parents' vehicle, so it's a separate policy from the parents' insurance. So you do need to make sure that you've got the correct insurance, and also you have an internal mirror for the examiner to use. Make sure you also have L plates, and a good tip is to maybe have some spares in the back in case they blow off during your drive. And just relax and go and do what you know best. So we obviously do a Taunton driving test centre route. A hazard on the left with a man opening his car door there. So when dealing with T-junctions, it's really important to have good road placement. So make sure that you're in the correct road position when turning. You will be penalised by the examiner if you are too far left, for example, when you're turning right. Now, quite a lot of parked cars on this particular road as we're coming out of the test centre area. At the end of this road, we are turning right. You can see the road position there. Ever so slightly towards the centre white line, so just be aware that your road position should be just left of the centre white line. So we've got a roundabout with 4 exits. It's quite near the test centre, so this is a key roundabout that you need to do some training on when you're in Taunton. So obviously we're turning right in the right hand lane. 1 exit just passed, 2nd exit just passed. So when you're about to move over, you need to check your left wing mirror to make sure that there's nothing coming in from the left hand side. So we're going along this way. A lot of the questions that you need to be asking yourself when you're out on your driving test is, what is the speed limit? Has the speed limit changed? Are you sure? And then once obviously you got that, you need to make sure that you constantly check your speedometer. And then you need to also make sure that you're driving sensibly within the speed limit using common sense. So we are in a 40 zone right now. What does that solid white line mean on the right hand side of the car? Now it's double white line. What does that mean? So we just entered a 30 zone. You should obey the words on the road as well. You know, when it says slow, make sure you're slow. Within good reason. If you're already going very slow, then maybe there's not a need to slow. But if you're doing the upper limit, then maybe you should take that advice. It's quite a nice route, this one. Takes you out of town really, quite a lot of country lanes. A few villages, narrow roads, etc. Not all test routes are around the town centres or city centres, so each test centre has their own number of test routes. The only way that anyone can get to know the test routes is by sitting in on a driving test. Okay, so you must make sure that you ignore what the examiner is doing. The examiner has their own agenda, you have yours. They have to make lots of notes during your test. It does not mean that you've made a mistake, so it's really important to keep up with that. This is quite a complex junction, this particular one. So it's obviously on a bend, so you need to make sure that you proceed out of the junction really carefully and signal for all the roundabouts, etc. Yeah, so you need to, if you do make a mistake on your test, you need to forget about it. You can't change what has happened, but you can change what's going to happen. So coming out of town, following the road ahead, and dealing with parked cars. What is the distance we need to give parked cars? Hopefully your instructor has taught you that. So on the test sheet, that's the subject adequate clearance. So here's our first stop on the left. Classic left reverse. One of the old manoeuvres. So we've got to roundabout. Okay, so a bit of road works here. Again, it's all about the adequate clearance on the left. You need to make sure that you leave plenty of space on the left hand side. What is the speed limit of this particular roundabout or road that you're on? Going left at this roundabout. It's very hard to see the signals obviously, but know that you signal for all junctions. And come to a T junction where we're turning left. And how many observations do you need to check each way? Now if you see that little roll back there, please do not do this on your driving test. Sophie did lose a little bit of control there, so you've got to be very aware. Obviously she was positioned wrongly. She wanted to go left, but she realised she wanted to go right, so that is one of her mistakes on that particular. So planning, she was positioned to go left and not right, so she had a little roll back to adjust her. Obviously she checked behind her, but it's not ideal on any situation. Okay, so what is the speed limit of this road? What does the red hatch markings mean in the middle of the road? Why are they there? So when you're out on your driving test, it's really important to, again, focus on the road, focus on what you're doing now, but try and be slightly ahead in time so that you can plan your drive. Can you see that the speed has just increased? We just passed a national speed limit sign. And we're coming up to a really, really funny junction. This is a area of training. Please make sure that you get your instructor or parent to take you to this junction. It can be quite tricky. It's kind of a weird shaped junction, as you can see on the sign that we previously passed. So we are turning right, so we have to first give way to the oncoming traffic. You can see there is a car approaching, but he's had to wait because he's being blocked. So then we can turn, and then we give way to the right here, and we've got to make our way to that middle island in the middle. You see there's another give way, and then now we need to give way to the left, and now we're following signs back towards Taunton. So that particular junction you need to do in stages. First you give way to ahead, then you give way to the right, then you give way to the left. It is on the outskirts of Taunton. Hopefully you'll recognise the situation. So we are in a left only lane. If you went ahead in this lane, second exit, you would definitely fail, but it's like its own slip lane coming off the actual roundabout itself. Merging into one lane. It's a 40-mile-an-hour road, this particular limit. Standard roundabout coming up. Again, ahead is usually left lane, but unless it states otherwise. It says you can go ahead in this lane as well as left. So that would be your left turn, and that's your ahead exit. So again, when you come off any junction, always make sure you search the road for hazards, markings and road signs. Is there a change of limit? Is there hazards up ahead? So this particular route does have quite a lot of out of town driving. There's quite a few roundabouts on it, and there is that obviously complex junction that we dealt with earlier. Okay, so in Taunton we have a lot of these roundabouts where you have 2 lanes off and then it narrows to 1. Why do we have these kinds of lanes? This is a good question. It gets more traffic through the junction and then lets you fight it out after, basically. Helps with congestion and traffic volume and flow through towns. Okay, so as we go ahead at the next roundabout, you'll see that this also has this feature. So the lane opens up into 2 lanes, allows more traffic through the junction. There's 2 lanes for both lanes off, and then you've got to kind of fight it out. Usually the left will have more dominance than the right, but we like to call it a bit of give and take. So what's the speed limit this road? There's lots of things that you consider doing. Street lights are a good sign. That is a built up area at least. It doesn't mean it's a 20, 30 or 40, it just means it's a built up area, so it can be either of those 3 speeds. You can even have street lights in 50s, 60s and 70s, so it's not a hard and fast clue, just to be warned. Have you seen street lights on dual carriageways? I have, out of town ones anyway. Okay, so solid white line. What is the purpose of that white line now? What does it mean? What you're not allowed to do? Why has this lane got hatch markings on the right? Why are they there? So typical residential kind of area, it's more of a through route than the actual main hub of the residential area. Typically these roads can be 30s or 40s. So it's a game of constantly waiting to see what's happening. Okay, so as we approach the end of the road, we will be turning right. This is quite a busy junction. So a really good driving test tip is to make sure that you practice this junction. It's major crossroads. It's just down the road from Asda's if you're heading out towards the M5. We're coming from a different angle, particularly here. We're going right towards the town centre of Taunton, not left towards the M5. But yeah, it's quite a major junction. Quite a few test routes in Taunton do at some point visit this junction. You'll notice that I'm in the middle lane, or this vehicle, Sophie, who's driving, bless her. Now, why am I in the middle lane? What's the purpose of me being in the middle if the right hand lane also allows you to turn right? And what lane does the left lane allow you to go? And what is the road sign telling you on the traffic light? Can you see that on the traffic light there? What's it telling you? So when you practice this junction, try and practice with different angles on your test. Try and practice different angles with your driving instructor or your parent, however you're learning to drive. This will give you the confidence that you need to get going when you do start to drive. Woohoo, we have a green light. So when you're turning right at a crossroads, do make sure that nobody is coming towards you from ahead or the right or left. So we've positioned ourselves in the left, which is correct to do so. You should always be left unless you're overtaking or turning right. Sophie does plan on turning right in the distance at the roundabout. So she's planning to get into position nice and early. So Asda is just passing on the left. So this particular route is quite out of town. It doesn't really go towards the town centre of Taunton. It kind of keeps away from that area. There's your roundabout signs there, and then on the leads to this roundabout there's quite a bit of traffic, so we will be fast forwarding this section. And as we enter the roundabout, position to the right, and you'll see there's 2 lanes on exit. Sophie is picking the right hand lane because the left lane is emerging, so on the other way round on this occasion. So that is really good forward planning. So she was looking at the signs nice and early and made a very quick decision. What is the speed limit of this road? So we are heading back to the test centre now. Do check out our other videos. Obviously this one's got a voiceover. I won't be doing it for all 3, but you get an idea of what to expect. Some questions that you need to ask yourself. Certain types of areas that you may visit. Certain types of junctions that you might have to do. So it gives you a little kind of breakdown of some of the kind of topics or the styles of driving that you'll be concentrating on. This particular route focuses more on lanes, residential and kind of 40 limits. It's quite a nice route, to be fair. You've got a couple of junctions along the way, but it's not so hazardy. You know, there's not so many hazards along it. It's quite a nice route. It's quite clearly marked. Not overly challenging. One of the nicer routes to get. And test centres have lots of different test routes, so it really is a shot in the dark as to which route you're going to get. Nobody knows. And it's not about learning the test routes, because nobody can learn the test routes to that degree. A little bit of familiarity doesn't harm anybody. Okay, so we are heading towards the test centre. A few parked cars about to turn round the bend towards the right. What's the speed limit on this road? What distance should you pull away from the parked cars on the left? Why do you need to give that space on the left? Who has priority here? Is anyone coming? Is there a place for you to pull in? So as we turn left, heading back towards the centre. Okay, so that is your first test route in Taunton. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully you've got some takeaways. Some takeaways that will benefit you with your driving test. So please do take on the advice at the start of these videos. You need to make sure that you have your provisional driving licence with you, not a passport. And you need to make sure that your car is fully roadworthy, legal, good tyres and lights. If any element doesn't work, you will be refused your driving test. Please like this video and give it a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. I'm sure there's always areas of improvement, but hopefully you've sampled this video and it gives you some kind of benefit.